do you do when you need help?
Help, I need somebody.
Turn to the troubleshooter, Tom Martino.
Help, you know I need someone.
Media with a purpose. Now, Tom Martino on 630 KHOW, Denver's talk station.
Your consumer advocate for years on radio, TV, and the internet. Yes, welcome. A household name, I hope, if you need help. A guy calls me the other day and says, Tom, I invested in my college girl's education with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Put $1,500 with this guy, and he didn't do anything. And then I wanted my money back, and he said, well, I don't have it. We went out to an old address he used to live at, because we didn't know it was an old address, but it was the latest address we had. We knock on the door. Some woman comes to the door and says, no, he doesn't live here anymore. I don't know where he is. And the next day, this guy had his $1,500 back. We recover millions of dollars in cash, merchandise, exchanges, refunds, and services. Coming up, we're going to talk about health insurance. It's a very important issue. And right now, I'm going to follow up a problem that came up yesterday with Gunsmoke, and Rich Wyatt agreed to come on. He's the owner. And it had to do with a woman who went in to buy a gun. And I have several questions about it, only because I don't understand the transaction. I wish I did, but I don't quite understand the transaction. For example, when you go in to buy a gun, and we'll go over all this, do you actually own the gun after you pay for it before the background check is done, or do you have to have the background check first before you legally own it, or do you own it? Do you own it when you buy it, but then you don't take possession of it? How does it work? And what does a background check cost and all of that? Barbara's complaint was very simple. She said that she went to buy a gun and paid in full by credit card. Is that right, Barbara?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. What, by the way, how much did you pay as far as the background check goes? What do you pay for that? Or is that included? Do you know?
Well, it was just included. It was $8.
But there's a cost to it. Anyway,
I'm
what
sure.
was the amount on your credit card?
$892.60.
Okay, $892.60, and then of course you failed the background because you had a restraining order against you.
Correct.
Okay, and by the way, when you made out your questionnaire, did it ask if you had any convictions or restraining orders or anything like that?
No, it didn't.
Because Mike, you mentioned, and I ought to talk to Rich about it, but you mentioned she may have falsified that application. Did you mention that, Mike? Okay, so Barbara, you answered every question on that questionnaire accurately?
Correct.
But she told us yesterday she knew she had a restraining order previously.
Well, did they ask about that on the... Let's ask Rich. But here's the bottom line, and here's the real issue, and I'll let Rich talk about it. The real issue is, when does she own the gun? And I want to make it clear that there is nothing wrong with a store having a no refund policy. I don't care about that. That's his right. He owns the store. He can do what he wants. That's anybody's right. You can have a no refund policy. The only time I think you need to give an exchange or a refund is if there's a defect with the product, and you can't exchange it. Then you should give them a refund. If you can exchange it, you should exchange it. There doesn't have to be a refund for any other reason if you don't want it to be. Refunds are not a right. Exchanges are not a right. Now, there are certain stores that believe that they want to do it, others don't. But, Rich, when it comes to a gun purchase, I guess this has never come up before with us, so I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how it works. Go
how
ahead.
are you, Tom?
I'm doing good.
Good. Let me explain it to you. In order for you to purchase the gun,
Yeah.
you have to buy the gun. Then you have to do the background check, and the government requires that they are the actual purchaser. The first question on the questionnaire is, are you the actual transferee buyer of the firearm listed on this form?
So then you have to actually buy it first, then apply for possession, basically.
For the background check. Then the state, we submit this information to the state, and then they come back and tell us proceed, delayed, or denied. They don't tell us what they did or why they can't have it. And then when we get that, they get a form, and they can just submit that form to the state, to CBI, and get it reversed if it's improper. But I didn't do this this sale, and I was on vacation, but I came back and I looked into it today.
Yes.
And I got it all taken care of. And so, Barbara, are you on the line here?
Yes, she is.
Yes.
Barbara, are you since you're making this public by going on the air, and I guess you told them that you do have a restraining order against you?
Yes, she did have one from her daughter, yes.
Okay, so Barbara, are you saying it's okay to make your information public?
Well, she's already done it, Rich.
I just have to get confirmation because I've got something I can't.
I had a restraining order. My daughter filed a restraining order.
I just yes or no. Is it okay?
See, here's why. You got to understand, Barbara. You called to complain about this, and he wants to talk about it. But in order to do that, he has to talk about the background check. Is that all right?
Okay.
All right. That okay? Go ahead,
Okay.
Rich.
So the question is number H, 11H. Are you the subject of a court order, restraining order, you from harassing, stalking, or threatening your child or an intimate partner or child of an intimate partner? She checked off no, and then she signed on the back that says, I understand that making a false oral or written statement on this form or misrepresenting anything with identification of this is a crime punishable as a felony under federal law and also may violate state and local law. So she's committed a felony by filling out this form and lying about having a restraining order.
Well, she hasn't been convicted of it, but she was...
No, I didn't say convicted. I said she committed.
Well,
that was many years ago, and it was supposed to be only for a year.
Okay,
so she didn't... I know what she's saying, Rich.
So, and
she's
then, Barbara,
saying she didn't know it.
We have this happen all the time, Tom. Colorado has a very high rate of false denials, and what we're professionals at is helping her fix it. And we'd be happy to help her fix it, but she refuses to take the process up to the state, which is where she needs to take it, not with us.
Okay, now, let's just say this. Let's say that legitimately the state did turn her down.
Okay.
She technically bought that gun.
That's right.
Okay, so now for you...
Now what we do is, this gun, just so you're aware, this is a brand new factory Smith & Wesson Model 637 gun.
All right.
And then it's the package she bought has some modifications done to it to make it to what she has asked us to do.
But did you do that before the background check?
We did. As soon as we sold it, we do it.
Okay, so now what?
So now,
let's say that somebody is legitimately turned down.
Right.
What do they do since there are no refunds?
I'm happy to sell the gun for her and put the gun out on consignment and sell the gun for her, and that's going to cost her 20% of the sale price.
Okay, so it's kind of like a restocking charge almost.
Almost, but what we do is we put the gun out, and then as soon as it sells, she can get paid. But she's up in arms and calling you and the cops and everybody on us like we're doing something wrong, and all we're doing is complying with the law. I'm not going to allow our license or our livelihood to be, taken away from us because she wants us to violate the law.
But if somebody bought a gun from Gunsmoke,
yeah,
and there was something wrong with it, I mean, you allow exchanges.
We take care. We can't exchange guns because there's federal law against that.
All right.
But we can take them back in and then sell them as a used gun, which is what we technically have to do.
But, I mean, you will replace a gun for somebody?
We'll fix it, replace it, whatever we got to do.
All right.
We don't leave our customers out to dry.
All right, so the bottom line here is you will allow her to have that gun sold and charge her the 20%, and then you maintain paperwork on this for life, right?
Absolutely, and that's one of the problems. It costs me more to do this deal with her than it does somebody that gets approved, because I have to keep the records on her forever in case they decide to charge her with this felony that she committed.
Now, the other one is this now. Let's say it was false, or let's say she had a restraining order, but it was supposed to be removed.
Absolutely.
You can take it up to state and help her.
We gave her a form that she has to fill out, send into the state, very simple. And then when she gets that document back, if she brings it in, I'll be happy. I help people with this all the time. We believe in people's right to have guns, and we want people to have guns.
So now, Barbara, why don't you let them help you get this corrected?
Well, it wasn't a matter of helping me getting it corrected. They just handed it to me and said, figure out what this is.
That's not true.
I did send it in, but I'm out almost $900.
But do you know why they said figure out what this is, meaning that they don't know why you're turned down?
Right, and actually I didn't know, but it was a restraining order 4 years ago, and it was a...
Now, why do you say it was only supposed to be a year?
Pardon me?
Why did you say it was only supposed to...
Well, I got my daughter filed a restraining order against me, and it was for a year.
Well, no, they don't.
They don't go. They're usually either permanent or temporary. I never heard about a year.
Well, that's what my attorney told me.
Well, Barbara, what it is this. If it's a temporary restraining order, usually automatically, then they have a hearing. And then if you don't show up at the hearing, it's turned into a permanent restraining order. Now, if you do show up at the hearing, it can go either way depending on the evidence. Now, if it turns into a permanent restraining order, I think what your attorney meant was after a year, you can probably apply to have it dismissed or to remove.
And I did do that.
Okay.
I went with my attorney and...
After a year?
Yes.
And did they remove it?
Yes.
Okay, no, they didn't, because if they would have removed it, it'd be gone, and she would have got the gun. Now, let me cover a couple of things, because I understand. I didn't hear the thing yesterday, but I heard she bashed us pretty hard.
Not really. She just said she said they have my money, won't give my money back.
Okay, well, but she has done other things. She's told us that she's already contacted a lawyer. She's had a boyfriend or somebody come in. She's called the cops on us and had the cops come in. So she's been explained to her at least 3 times that I'm absolutely aware of exactly what she needs to do. But because that's not what she wants to do, that's not acceptable.
So you have 2 choices, Barbara. You can have what he's explaining is reasonable. You can have the gun sold for a consignment charge, or you can have him help you. If truly you had the restraining order removed, he will try to help you get that cleared up. And I don't know what else you want.
I just want my money back on my credit card. I mean, it was nearly $900.
But you wanted a gun to begin with. Why did you change your mind about it?
I didn't change my mind.
Well, he
about
says
it.
He said if it was removed, he can get that done for you.
Well, my attorney told me that everything had been sealed. All my records had been sealed.
You can't seal a restraining order.
I mean, I can see my daughter now. I see her
well,
often.
That's why he said. Do you understand? He says he wants to fix it for you. Listen. I agree that when there is a purchase and you just change your mind that there shouldn't be a refund, or if in fact you bought something, there's no reason to have a refund. I'm not. Listen, I try every way to look at every situation, but he's saying he'll sell it, which amounts to what is like a restocking, because he's going to sell it for you. He's going to put it in stock and sell it. Or he will get this done for you if truly it was removed. So you're going to get either what you want, or you're going to get the gun returned with some money back, because it'll sell. But I don't understand why neither of those solutions are good for you. If you were willing to have the gun before, did you change your mind about having the gun?
Absolutely not.
Well, he says he might be able to get this done for you.
Okay, I just don't understand. Now I have to go to the court.
Don't you want this cleared up? I would want it cleared up if it was me.
I want it cleared up.
I would want it cleared up because
I'm a single mother and I don't have any money.
No matter where you go, you're going to want this thing cleared up.
Barbara, let me tell you one other thing. I'm a retired cop, okay? Right now, the way this stands, if you get caught someplace with your daughter, you're going to jail, because there's a restraining order out there that says you're not allowed to be in contact with her.
Even if you said it was removed, if it's not on the record, you got a problem. You got a problem. So I'm just telling you that I think you ought to give Rich Wyatt at Gunsmoke a chance to either fix it or to sell the gun. Mike?
Well, I did leave a message for the gentleman that runs InstaCheck with CBI, so we'll get some more clarification. But she's just whining to you, I'm a single mom, I have no money. But she's getting custom pink grips put on a firearm. I don't get it.
Well, okay. Now, Mike, I'm not going to get into that, okay? But I will say this, okay? I did not realize that in the state of Colorado, you must own the gun to apply, or buy the gun first before you get a background check. He's saying that's what it says right on there, that you are the buyer, meaning that he transferred ownership to her, then applied for the background. Then, if it's denied, she's the owner, but she can't possess it. Now, that's the part I never knew about. I don't know enough to dispute it. That's what he's saying. I'll take his word for it. And I'd like to hear from the state on that, because that I never knew. He's got a comment on that gun sale that woman called about. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, Tom. I've purchased 4 firearms from licensed dealers.
Yes, sir.
Since the background took effect.
Yes.
The most recent was 3 years ago from a licensed dealer. I went in, told them what I wanted, picked it out, filled out the form. They told me it'd be a half an hour because it was a busy day. I went and got the money and came back in a half an hour and was passed and paid for the gun. And they carried it to the front door.
You didn't pay before?
No, I never have.
Okay.
And doesn't sound right to me. I think the guy from Gunsmoke is blowing smoke. And if all he did to that pistol was put different pistol grips on it, seems to me like in a matter of about 5 minutes, he can take them off and put the original ones back on.
See, here's what I try not to do when I'm talking to people is I don't want to run their business